Hello there, everybody. Dennis Prager and Julie Hartman. It's Dennis and Julie.
Shalom.
Who just told you, someone in Australia told you they're a big fan of the show, right?
Oh, yes. Well, I just spoke to the Australian Jewish Association on Zoom the other night at 1 a.m. my time, which shows you how much I like them.
Yes. For you, that's very hard.
It was really hard, I will admit.
For me, 1 a.m. is prime time.
That's like 7 p.m. for me.
Yes, that's right.
Your 1 a.m. is like 7 p.m. for me. But I was really energized when I went on the Zoom. And what was really touching, Dennis, was how many people raised their hand to ask me a question and said, I love Dennis and Julie. I love Timeless.
In Australia,
yes. So shout out to the Aussies.
Well, it shows you the power of the internet for good, just as it is for bad. It's not just for bad. I mean, there would be no PragerU without the internet, just as an example.
It's interesting that you bring this up because I have been contemplating for some time now getting rid of my social media. And I can't see Sean, but I'm sure Sean is shaking his head and thinking, oh my God, because it's a good way. It's like the only way that we're advertising my show right now. And frankly, Dennis and Julie, that's the primary way that it gets advertised. I deleted I've talked about it on Dennis and Julie, but I deleted my personal social media because this was like a year and a half ago, because I thought it was just unhealthy and a time drain and not good for me. But I have contemplated getting rid of even my professional social media.
Really?
Yes, that's what I meant when I first said it. Because I just think that I think it's an evil thing, social media. I really do. And I hear you that it can be a force for good, but
when you say professional, so you would not have a Twitter account? Is that correct?
Yes. Or an
Instagram.
Do you
use it now?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I just think it's,
it can take over your life.
It can, and I don't let it take over my life, but I even find that I'm spending way too much time on it, and I'm pretty moderate about this stuff, and I regulate myself. But even to bring up an unfortunate subject, even looking at the spat between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, and then the spat a few weeks ago between Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens, I just look at that stuff and I go, this is just not facilitating goodness. In some cases it is, but if we're like Twitter warring with each other, and also literally the way that social media is designed is to make what you have to say incredibly concise and simple. And you're the king of being concise. You're excellent at it. But but also, when you only have 280 characters on Twitter, you sound off and say,
so little.
Right.
That's exactly right.
I think it's evil, and I think if I'm considering this, if I lead by example and say I'm not partaking in this, I'm not saying that I'm people will necessarily follow, but
no, it's an interesting point. So I want to tell you something I've never said to you. I mean, it's not some gigantic revelation, but I think I've thought about this a lot. I have a Facebook account, but I don't even know what goes on there because it's all professional and others monitor it. But if I were not a public figure, mm-hmm. I personally think I would love to have a Facebook page.
Really?
I am so interested to know what cousins are doing and nephews and nieces and friends I haven't seen in 20 years. I would revel in that stuff.
I understand what you're saying, and of course, as we've been remarking, it's not all good or all bad. There are some very good parts of it, including being able to see what your relatives, friends are doing. But I think that you maybe have a romanticized idea of what you would learn. A lot of people, I was actually thinking about this today.
That's interesting.
A lot of people who in real life I would judge to be very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Moderate, not narcissistic people. You see them on social media and they're like posting the yogurt that they ate. Some people are very different online than they are in real life. And so I think you have this idea, I would see that my cousin climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
So wait, that is interesting. So explain that to me. What I know you're right. I know of it. I haven't really witnessed it because I'm not on Facebook. But so people will do that. I mean,
Totally.
Without exaggerating, this is what I had for breakfast.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So, okay, I know this will sound, or I assume it'll sound silly. Why?
Well, that's the $1 million question. Why?
Well, no. Why? What? Forgive me, Julia.
No.
I'm interrupting.
You're forgiven.
Okay, thank you. I'm not asking why psychologically. That I'm interested in, but I'm asking why in a very pragmatic way. Does anyone care?
No. No one cares. But there's a culture on social media of doing that. It's very weird. It's very difficult to explain. I'm not sure I could even do it. But you just, it's a really interesting experiment in social contagion, because people see other people posting their breakfast pictures. And it's very common for people to post their food when they go out to a restaurant. And I don't know if they're trying to show, hey, I have a social life, or hey, I'm getting out and here's my fancy pasta meal, or if they're just seeing other people do it and they think they have to do it. But it is very, very common.
You've actually seen this.
Oh, Dennis,
people will you're right. I'm totally ignorant of it.
I could pull up my Instagram for you right now, and I bet if I looked at the top 3 stories, one of them would have a food picture.
This is what I ordered in the restaurant today.
Yes.
So here's another question, since this is all revelatory to me. Is it more likely a woman will do that than a man?
Yes.
I would think that.
Yes. But you'd be surprised. There are a lot of men who
I have to believe that a guy who posts, this is what I ordered at the restaurant, I don't want to, I truly don't want to offend anybody, but it's not very masculine.
I know. It's not. Do you see now why I have this allergy to it? I think it makes us brain dead. It's obviously a time drain, and
okay, so now I'll go to what you thought I asked originally.
Why psychologically are people doing that?
What animates? I mean, the thought that even if I were a private individual, I wasn't a public person, the thought that I would put out for anybody, this is what I had at my restaurant, is inconceivable. If I did, as my wife would put it, I would have Dennis rushed for an MRI of his brain. He was probably having a tumor.
Here's what I think it is. I think it started off as, for the average person who posts a food picture, I think it starts off as a social contagion. They see other people on Instagram doing it, and they think that it's cool, or it's kind of like what you do on Instagram, and that's why they post it. I think there's a sprinkle in there of wanting to show people, I am out at a restaurant, I have a social life, I am, I don't just stay at my apartment all day. But I think if I really got down to the psychological reason for it, I think it's because we have so lived our lives online. Social media, especially in my generation, is a feature of life, not a bug. It's not like we have our lives and then social media is separate. Social media is in large part our life.
Yeah, that's frightening.
And you know what I think it is? I think that we have subconsciously internalized the idea that if we don't post about it, we don't take a picture, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Seriously.
Yes.
And no one would consciously, it's very subconscious, but it's sort of like the food will be better, or like the experience is.
I understand that now.
Weirdly, I think they think the experience is more real if I post about it, which is so fake. It's very, very odd. Oh, we could talk about this the whole time. I mean, people post with their friends, and I think that's a way of like solidifying. If your friend posts of you on social media, or you post with your friend, that's a way of making the friendship real. Like, we posted together. They're on my social media page, so they're my friend, instead of just actually knowing in real life and in private that person is your friend.
When people post now, what medium are they usually
Instagram.
using?
My generation is very, very Instagram
Okay, so
heavy.
explain to me I know this is pathetic that I'm even
No, I
asking.
love it. It's so refreshing to me. I love and admire it so much that you don't know this world.
Thank you.
No, seriously, thank God.
What is the big difference between Instagram and Facebook?
So Facebook, I think, is more long form. Like, I mean, it is. It is more long form. You can post a bunch of pictures and videos and then write really long captions. And that's good and that's bad. If you're following like Barry Weiss I don't use Facebook, but I can imagine if you follow Barry Weiss or Douglas Murray and they write these kind of long things, you're going to get something of quality. But if you follow your average friend or your average cousin, this is why I said I think you have a romantic view of what you'd be learning. You would be surprised as to how many people use it as a forum to just talk about themselves and and report on the most minutia of their lives.
So it fosters narcissism.
You have no idea
how
much. You have no idea how much.
You're right. I have no idea.
And girls my age, and this was so prevalent when I was a teenager, and it's still prevalent now, and I just turned 24. People plan out their posts like meticulously, and they will take. So let's say you're at the Eiffel Tower. People will not only take one photo at the Eiffel Tower, they will take 300. And you think I'm exaggerating when I say 300. I'm not. 300 photos at the Eiffel Tower. Get me from this angle, get me from that angle, get me with my shirt, my sweater on, get me with my sweater off, get me in the photo with my boyfriend, now without the boyfriend, now laughing at a pigeon. Ha ha, look at the pigeon. Like literally they stage these different photos, some of them candid, some of them posed, some of them with this outfit or that outfit. And then they go back to their hotel room and for 3 hours, they're scrolling and they're editing. They're making their waist look slimmer, their arms look slimmer. And then once they've done that, it's all about the caption. You have to come up with a witty, maybe a pun about the Eiffel Tower or something. And it takes their whole damn day while they're in Paris. That is the generation that I live in. And even people who I, in real life, respect and who I think are like thoughtful, no nonsense people will succumb to that.
This is so revelatory.
I need to do Sean, would you write this down? Because I'm going to forget. I need to do a really, really deep dive on Timeless about social media.
Yes.
It's evil.
So I read a lot about it. Social media is sort of like, for me, sports. I don't watch almost any games, but I read about it.
Okay.
I know what's going on, but I read about this. So somebody recently made the point, and I'm sure it's not original to him, but doesn't matter. It wasn't something I came up with, and that is this person's belief that social media is a contributor to the unprecedented amount of loneliness among young people.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So there's an irony, a theoretical irony. Here I am in touch with so many people all the time, and I'm lonelier than ever.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Oh, I've felt it myself when I use social media. You get this false sense of being connected to people, and you spend all of this time curating your life online. So the operative word is false. Yes, and you literally, it's sort of like the precursor to AI. Or it's sort of like, do you know what Club Penguin is?
No.
Club Penguin is this site that I was on when I was younger, and it's basically like this digital world for kids. And there are parental controls and all of that. It was really fun. Like you pick your outfits, and you were penguins in this world, and you picked like what shirt you were wearing, and you picked your friends, and and it was just like this cool interactive world. That's basically what social media is. But Club Penguin is a kid's game. Social media is a thing that everyone uses. People curate their lives online instead of actually like living their lives and shaping their lives in real life. They'll curate this whole timeline or these posts of places they were.
So with everybody not everybody, with all the people who were doing this,
almost everyone.
Okay, almost everyone, fine. Well, you're devoting all this time to presenting yourself.
Yes.
Are people looking at it?
America is at a tipping point. Hi, Julie Hartman here to tell you about a new movie, Dinesh D'Souza's Police State. It exposes the government's persecution of the conservative MAGA movement. The America that we know and love is sadly slowly becoming more and more like a police state every day. The FBI has turned its eyes away from real dangers in the world to target what they call domestic terrorists, treating conservative Americans like they're criminals. They're targeting their political opponents, using mass surveillance and censorship, indoctrinating children, and threatening families with military-style raids on their homes. This is threatening people like you and me who speak our minds and stand up for freedom of speech and freedom of religion. Directed by Dinesh D'Souza, Debbie D'Souza, and Bruce Schooley, The Police State sounds the alarm. How did we get here? And how do we turn the tide of this government's agenda? Please see Police State. Buy it or stream it now at policestatefilm.net. That's policestatefilm.net.
So with everybody or not everybody, with all the people who were doing this,
almost
and spending,
everyone.
Okay, almost everyone, fine. Well, you're devoting all this time to presenting yourself.
Yes.
Are people looking at it?
Yes, but people mindlessly scroll. And I've done this. I have gone to bed, and sometimes I'll go on social media because, you know me in my mind, I'm tortured and I need to like distract myself with something. And I will find for 30 minutes I'm just scrolling and looking at baking videos or videos of people like making silly putty. It's just the kinds of videos that come in your feed are just mindless.
These are not part of your feed. These are
they are
random.
part of my feed. They're planted in my feed. Instagram has suggested things.
So who Instagram has suggested? So were you literal about the silly putty?
I'm
totally
literal.
All right, so good. So walk me through that. How does Julie Hartman get a feed on making putty?
Well, if I were a conspiracy theorist, I would say that these social media creators and titans are trying to make me dumber.
With your permission, as it were.
Yes, because I signed up for the app.
Okay, but clearly, wait. So you didn't sign up to receive that feed?
No, I didn't. I don't follow like a silly putty making
Right.
account.
That's what I'm asking. Then
Right.
I don't understand. How do you get silly putty feeds?
So there are people you follow and you get that feed. Every person you follow, you see their posts. But then there's this suggested page on Instagram.
And you go to that.
Yes.
And so you might have signed up for a silly putty making feed?
It's not like signed up. It's like it's an algorithm and they
I know, but you
the
have
more
to
you
have
view
to
it,
say yes.
well, you click on it. That's how you say yes. You
Okay,
click on
fine.
it.
Why did you click on it?
Because it's mesmerizing.
Okay, that's what I wanted
And
to know.
because they make you addicted to this. I mean, TikTok, the whole like they design it to increase your dopamine levels and to have
Okay,
the
so
short
walk me
time
through
span.
that. What's the difference between Instagram and TikTok?
TikTok is like short, like 10-second videos.
And what is Instagram?
Instagram, you can post videos and photos and write longer captions,
But not as long as Facebook.
but not as long as Facebook.
So it's a length issue largely.
Yes.
Facebook largest,
Instagram middle.
second, and then TikTok.
TikTok.
So that's really pathetic.
Oh, and it's
So
designed by
TikTok is truly mindless.
Yes, and this is, I mean, to bring this back to this whole Israel-Gaza conflict, this is, I think, a large contributor of the kind of radicalism that we are seeing, because these social media accounts
Oh, I'm
like
sure you're
pump
right.
out this propaganda, especially
Right.
TikTok. The Chinese Communist Party
Right.
is feeding us all this pro-Palestine from the river to the sea, Israel's a war criminal
Right,
propaganda.
and you only need 10 seconds to tell a lie.
Yeah.
You need a lot more time to tell a truth.
Now that's a pillow quote.
Well,
that goes on a T-shirt.
Did you ever hear it? There is something. There is an aphorism like that about truth. Yeah. A lie travels faster around the world than truth takes to put on shoes, or something like that.
Well, the analogy that
Wait. I cracked Sean up, which means I got it wrong. And Zach put it. I got the gist of it. Okay, go ahead.
There is the analogy that I use is it takes 1 day, less actually. It takes 1 hour to knock down a house. It takes 5 years to build it back up.
Yes, of course. Well, that's the left in general.
Yes.
It only destroys. Tell me something the left has built other than governments. Really, I would like to know.
That's another T-shirt. That's a great quote.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. So what are you on? All of them?
So I personally am off all of them. Professionally, to make people aware of my shows, to tweet out my thoughts.
So why
I'm on
wouldn't
Twitter
you want to continue that?
and Instagram. Because I think there needs to come a point in society where all of us say no. We're not going to live our lives online. This is a net negative than a net positive. And I really believe in as corny as it sounds, the power of your individual example. And I just want to kind of lead the way of getting rid of that.
Which is the one that I keep reading is bad for girls because they have all these girls modeling
Probably Instagram.
and makes other girls feel that they're physically inadequate.
Probably Instagram.
So what happens on Instagram? So a lot of girls model, so to speak, do
Yes.
bikini shots
Oh, yes.
and the like
Yes. Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I also, isn't there such a thing as OnlyFans?
Yes, but I know nothing about that. I really don't know anything. I
It-
think it's
I
like
think you
a
have to pay for
pornography
that.
site
Well-
or something.
well,
or
it's-
I don't know.
Pornography has so many gradations, like so many other things. What I know of it is it's girls modeling graphically, but not naked. Is that correct? Zach is an expert. Yeah.
Exposed.
Anyway, the point is not to analyze that as much as which is the one that they claim has a bad impact on girls' self-image.
All of them. I mean, literally all of them.
All
but
of
I
them.
think social media. I think Instagram. It's hard, and I'm pretty healthy, and I've never had an eating disorder in my life. I've never had the urge to starve myself or anything. But I even remember when I was a teenager seeing these photos of girls who'd take mirror selfies or they'd take bikini pictures and they looked so thin and so good. And it gets in your head. It's really hard. And you know, another thing, just to further my case for why this is evil and why, again, I think there needs to be a movement of us collectively saying, no, we're not partaking. So much of this gender stuff is
That's right.
spread on social media and
Right.
TikTok especially
And
by
they-
the Chinese Communist Party, which does not allow transgenderism or homosexuality in its
Right.
own country.
Right.
But they know that it's a good weapon to spread and confuse the minds of people in America.
I have seen, and everybody should go on, ironically, go on the internet and see there was at least one, I'm sure there are many, videos that show the difference between TikTok in China and TikTok in America.
Oh, I bet it's
It is so healthy in China. It's teaching kids, how to do gardening and how to do constructive things, and
They know exactly
how to
what they're
learn
doing.
skills.
they know exactly what they're doing to us.
Well, and we're doing to ourselves.
And we're doing it to ourselves. Yes. Let me tell you something, and I'm saying it here and now, and I will never change my mind on this. My children will not have a social media until they are at least 16. If I had it my way, they would never have it for their entire lives, but obviously I can't control them
So
at a certain point.
my grandchildren are being raised by my son and daughter-in-law in an Orthodox Jewish home, and
Right.
Orthodox Jews don't use electricity on Sabbath, on Shabbat. So they don't have social media. So when I visit my son, who has two sons and two stepdaughters, and we regards like daughters. So when I visit them, it is as if I have returned to 1950s America.
I bet.
I have the chills telling you this, partially because the room is freezing. But nevertheless...
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, that was on behalf.
Just for the
on your
record,
behalf.
it's always freezing in here, but if Dennis is freezing, you
Yes,
know it's
it-
frigid in here.
Yeah, or Dennis is not well. But I presume it's because it's freezing.
It's freezing.
So this is really something. I go there, and all I see, there must be 20 kids, their age, One is 13. One is what is he, 7 or 8, and they each have like 15 friends over, and they're just running around and playing. They're just playing.
It's the way
There is
it's
no
supposed to be.
TV, no computer, no phone.
Yeah. That's the way that my kids are going to be raised
Well,
in my house.
yes, that's right.
None
So
of that crap.
they're not lonely.
I know. It's really bad. And I mean, I go out with friends and you're sitting with them at a restaurant and they're on their phones. They're just scrolling through social media. You go on dates and people just bring
Is
it
that
up.
right?
Oh yeah, of course. Definitely. And you know what? So
That is so unclassy. God.
well, only you would observe that, and you're totally right. And that is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the
Well, by the
lack
way,
of
I'm sure your
classiness.
generation doesn't even use the term classy.
No, they don't. They don't. They wouldn't know it if it hit them in the face.
That's correct. I know it because it would be objectionable because it implies that there are classes.
And it implies that some people are classless.
Yes.
And you can't
that's
make
a
any
bad
moral
thing.
judgments of anyone.
That's right.
What did you just, we were saying, dates. Oh, okay. So I've spoken about this on Dennis and Julie with regard to my peers at Harvard, and not just picking on Harvard, but, kind of like elite schools in general. And I came up with this line a few years ago, and I know I've said it on Dennis and Julie, that when so much goes into the resume, there's not much left in the person. And I observed that a lot.
Yes, that's a great line of yours.
In my high school and college, where
Right.
these people, and you'd go, oh my God, like they like started, their own organization, and they like built homes
they
in
marched for
Japan.
Tibetan
Like,
monks.
yeah, like they, and then you meet them and it's like they are the dullest human beings. And again, I have like the best friends at Harvard. I'm not saying everyone, but
No,
there
I
was a
understand.
large, and you go, oh my God, these people must be like
So this
superstars. So here's the analogy. When so much goes into the social media profile, there's nothing left in the person.
they're both true.
Sorry, go ahead. You can see I'm
No,
animated about this subject.
No, you have a right to be. So you and I just had a long discussion about this, actually. I was blessed beyond words to be given wisdom at a very early age. I take no credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I said to you privately, and I'll say now publicly, I did no schoolwork throughout high school. I didn't give a damn what college I went to. I ended up at Columbia for graduate school because in college I did give a damn. But I didn't care about where I went undergraduate. I cared about living life. I knew. Do you know that I wrote? What do they have today? Did you have to write an essay or a composition on some theme in English class?
Oh yes.
Yeah, write 2 pages, let's say. Yeah.
Oh, 2 pages, I wish.
Okay. Well, so of course, all of ours was handwriting. We didn't have at the time. We didn't have any computers, word processors. I wrote in my sophomore year in high school, and I hope I still have it. Actually, I'd love to show it to you. The theme was, I want to prove George Bernard Shaw wrong.
That youth is wasted on the young.
That's right.
You did, Dennis. You proved him wrong.
I
From
agree.
what I know.
I
From what I
agree.
know
Yes.
about you. Obviously, I didn't know you
Now,
then, but
I wouldn't have proved him wrong if I just did all my homework. I would have wasted my youth. So I learned what I wanted to learn. The world, shortwave radio, the Russian language, how to conduct orchestras. I went every week to the New York Philharmonic Library. I mean, I'm an abnormal human being. No, what
I know.
What kid is going to do what I just did? Learn Russian and how to conduct orchestras. Okay, I agree. I'm abnormal.
Only you.
I agree with that.
Only you.
But my point is not that I'm abnormal, which is clear. My point is, I knew that was not living life. just studying for tests and doing meticulous homework. My parents thought I know you didn't. Well, you got into Harvard and I got into Brooklyn College, but that's fine. I retained Dennis.
Yep.
Your point is you lose yourself.
You do. It's sad. Well, it's changing so much now because, and I've talked about my high school. I mean, my high school is barely recognizable in 2023 from the school I went to, graduating in 2018.
Yes, 5 years.
It's totally different.
Right.
And the rigor that has gone down. I mean, is it rigor or rigorousness?
No, rigor is fine. Yeah.
Has gone down, and it's so woke and so crazy. I mean, I could get into
so
it. So
the exact same teachers and principals.
There's been some turnover. They hired a DEI director. There's a new principal, but the old principal was pretty woke. But some of the teachers have left. But yes, there are a lot of teachers who remain there, and I don't think they think highly of me. I want to tell you about a book that Dennis says has been one of the most influential books in his life. It has been re-released, George Gilder's Men and Marriage. George Gilder, who I interviewed on my show Timeless, has been clear about the stakes for the family since 1974. 50 years later, the need of the hour remains. Men that take responsibility for themselves. Men who love their wives. Men who raise their own children. Men who tackle the workforce, motivated by their family and the needs of others. Without fathers, our civilization will sink back into the Stone Age. We must bring dads back or else. Get your copy of George Gilder's classic book, Men and Marriage, today at dadsareback.com. If Dennis recommends it, it must be a great read. Civilization needs strong men. Without dads, we're toast. Get George's book at dadsareback.com. And I don't think they think highly of me.
Oh, I'm sure they don't.
But let me tell you something, not to brag. I was beloved at that school.
Well, how could you not be?
I was beloved.
You were the perfect student.
And every year, and again, I'm not saying this to brag. It's just it's truly fascinating for me.
Bragging.
I won the character, like the
You are a character.
No, but the character award.
I'm
every year,
playing,
and was all of that. And again, I don't say that as a brag whatsoever, but it's amazing because a lot of these people.
So they're not inviting you back as an alumna who did well.
And I've heard, and some people have even told it to my face. And by the way, I'm sure there are some teachers who agree with me or who respect my right to do what I'm doing, but they're not going to come out and tell me. They're going to remain silent about it. So I don't want to paint all of them there with one broad brush. But I have heard through the grapevine, and I've also actually online been told by former classmates and teachers how disappointed they are in me. And that's sad. It's interesting for me because one of the things I want to ask them, especially the ones who smear me as evil or unkind.
Well, not teachers to be
right. No. Teachers.
Fellow students.
Yes, fellow students. Teachers never did that ever. Thank you for clarifying that. But what I want to say to them is do you think I just totally changed my character? But you know what? I mean, I guess that could happen. Have you ever seen someone who was started off really nice and then they became mean? I do know
someone.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yes,
okay.
It's very rare.
Then it can happen.
There is a human being that I had a friendship with. It's the only case in my life that this happened. And he became evil.
Wow.
And it's the only person I know who I would describe as evil. It's a very odd case. I will also say this. When I knew him, and he was a sweet, intelligent guy, he was religious.
Oh, and now he's not?
Oh, he's not just not religious. He's an anti-religious atheist publicist.
What do you think happens to someone like that? Because
I don't know the answer.
My question for the high school classmates was do you think I just totally changed my character?
I know.
Why do you think I won the character award every single year?
Well, here's a better question. What do you mean when you say I, Julie Hartman, am evil?
Right.
What
Well, look.
what constitutes my evilness?
It's literally like talking with toddlers. I mean, the
Well,
level of
that's
stupidity
right.
and
Well,
ignorance and
the inability to answer.
oh, I mean, I don't even try to get into it. But it's really interesting. Like I had a sterling reputation. You knew, like, do you think I just threw that out the window, or I
So
just
they have. I'll tell you what they would say. You sold your soul for money. It's a very common
Where's the money?
thing. Oh no, that's a separate. That's right. They don't. They say this about all of us.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Prager. Oh, he's a conservative because that's where the money is. Are you joking? That's where the money is? 99% of the money in this society for advocacy is on the left.
Oh my God. I mean, I didn't sell my money or my money. I didn't sell myself for fame. I'm not famous. I didn't sell myself for money. I'm not, making millions of dollars. I've lost friends. I mean, this has been a huge, and by the way, I'm so grateful for this career. I love it. It's changed my life. It's elevated my life. But there have been a hell of a lot of sacrifices. They just think you're right that, she just did. People, you know what? Forgive me. I know you want to say something, but I want to make this point.
I'm fine.
This world that we're in, the conservative, public-facing, talk, podcast, media world, it's such a rarefied world. We should really discuss that. As I've told you, I've never, and I mean never, met someone who's on the air who isn't lovely in person and gracious. And I've met Hollywood people who are, growing up in LA, I've met Hollywood celebrities, and some are really nice and some are really not nice. But in this conservative media world, everyone is off the air exactly who they are on the air. And being at this conference that we were at in London, which we haven't talked about on Dennis and Julie, by the way, so much of it was networking. And what was so amazing, I observed this, was like all of us are networking with each other to like try to facilitate the most amount of good. Mm-hmm. Like what other world where you're like exchanging business cards and you're like trying to like get to someone solely because you want to save Western civilization and like do the most amount of good. And so I think that the reason why there are so many genuine people on this side is because many of us, and obviously there are probably some, but like almost all of us are doing what we're doing for a cause that's greater than ourselves.
That's
we're not,
right.
Like we're not selling out. A lot of us are not selling out for money.
So I was raised a liberal, a Democrat, and of course a Jew.
Redundant.
Almost. That's right.
In Brooklyn.
So my life has ended up with conservatives, Christians, and what did I say? Liberal. What were the three things I said?
Liberal, Democrat, Jew.
Oh, yeah. So Republicans, conservatives, and Christians. And they're just generally really nice people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say there aren't some, bad apples, but that's inevitable. But, yeah, it's really... It's really struck you.
Yes, so much. I mean, again, everyone who I shouldn't say everyone, but almost everyone who I encounter in this world, they're just so
genuine
good and deep.
Genuine.
Very genuine.
As you said, the same off the stage as on the stage.
Yes, because look, maybe there are some people who are coming into this. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that some people may see like a benefit in being conservative and being public. But there's so much sacrifice and vitriol that you have to endure, that you have to be a true believer in order to do it.
Right.
A true believer for
true
goodness.
Believer because it's a term. Do you know the term, the true believer?
No.
Oh, I knew you didn't. That's why I'm asking.
What is it?
You can read this in an hour and a half. Eric Hoffer, the true believer.
Okay.
Eric Hoffer was a longshoreman. And a philosopher. A very rare person. He was brilliant. You read The True Believer, it'll be one of the best books you ever read.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know you are.
I will read it.
Yeah.
So what does it refer
to?
to?
No,
it's
that True Believer is has become synonymous with fanatic.
Right.
You know, the person is he's a true believer. He doesn't question himself. He doesn't question anything. I know you didn't mean it
Right.
that way. You meant it literally.
Yes.
We truly believe.
Yes, in the cause.
Yes, and that is absolutely accurate.
And that is what motivates
Yes.
us above anything else.
So I want to read to you something I read in an Atlantic, because I was telling my wife just yesterday. So I flew back from Florida. 'Cause, a week without flying is not possible for me.
I'm so sorry. Don't forget, can I just say one quick thing?
Yeah.
Also, just finally on this rarefied environment world, everyone is very happy for one another. That's another distinguishing
Yes,
factor.
we want to
this
help
is
each other.
I remember when I first started working for you, Candace Owens left PragerU to go to Daily Wire. And I said to you, how do you feel about that? And you said, I'm so happy for her. It's great. It's all about the cause. And I
Right.
saw this at ARC. I saw this at the conference. When someone was up on stage, like everyone watching was really happy for them. And it's a very healthy environment because we're all trying to help each other and help ourselves to facilitate
That is
the
entirely
greatest
accurate.
possible good. I'm so sorry. Go on.
No, it's a non-issue.
Tampa,
So,
Florida.
I was telling my wife how much time I spent on the plane reading The Atlantic, which is on the left. And then I was telling the same thing to Alan. I actually, it's almost bizarre, the interest I have in reading those I don't agree with. Do you know, that's why I learned Russian, to read Pravda, the Soviet communist newspaper. I have always been fascinated with the opposition, and especially with the left. How and why do they think what they think? So anyway, so I was reading a very long thing. So
Do you
I
not
want to
get
read
angry?
to you. Huh?
Do you not get angry when you're reading it? I tend to get angry.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
It so repulses me that and I do read it, but I feel my mood getting considerably
I'm
worse.
very controlled in that world, in the emotional world. I mean, I'm very emotional, as you know, but I don't react emotionally to that stuff. I first of all, I expect awful, so I'm never shocked. Sometimes they say stuff that's just so vile that I guess it does. But anyway, so David Brooks is a New York Times columnist. I remember him from before he was at the New York Times. Actually, I believe with the National Review. He started out on the conservative side. Today, he's not a leftist. He's one of the few non-left. He's liberal, but he's not one of the lefty. And he's absolutely irrational on Trump. I mean, there really is Trump derangement syndrome. People stop thinking clearly. But that's not the point I want to make. So he wrote a piece on, he thinks about big stuff, which I like, obviously. And why has America gone in a moral decline? Which is a perfect.
So he admits that there's been a moral
Yes,
decline.
he has. He doesn't admit the left caused it.
Okay, well
That's what drives me nuts about him. But
Right.
it doesn't matter because I get a lot of data. So listen to this piece of data. I want to share this with you and everybody listening or watching. According to research by Ryan Streeter, who was at the American Enterprise Institute, we'll definitely have him on my show as a result of this one line. Ready? Listen to this line. See, I read very slowly. And one of the reasons I read very slowly is because I want to understand every word that is said. I learned to read, in effect, studying the Torah. And you learn it by reading it very carefully and always asking, what does it mean when it says that? Why doesn't it say X? Could have said X better with Y. Okay. Lonely young people, this is going to fascinate you. Lonely young people are 7 times more likely to say they are active in politics than young people who aren't lonely.
I have been talking about this for years. Leftism is a way for people, especially young people, to find meaning going to a protest, posting on your social media, putting these stickers on your computer, trumpeting out what you believe is giving people a life purpose.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what you are,
Yeah.
what you want to do,
Right.
but like that is a really compelling default.
So it's interesting that the term is the basis is lonely. I will assuage my loneliness in politics.
And you know what's great about that too for them? They feel like they're a part of something. They're feeling like they're, around other people and they're less lonely. And it's a way to channel anger about their own lives, their own loneliness, their own lack of purpose. And they sublimate that rage and that dissatisfaction and project it onto America.
That's correct.
That's what I think I observed this last week. I think the basis of Trump derangement syndrome is that people feel like Trump is a really easy and socially acceptable outlet to voice their rage about things that they don't feel comfortable actually expressing their rage about in their own lives.
Wow. The people you know who hate Trump,
I think that's the case.
Yeah?
Yes. Why? So when I know you didn't want to, you said that Trump derangement syndrome is not the point I'm making or the point I'm focusing on, but forgive me, I do want to ask, and then we'll get back to this. What do you think is the basis of Trump derangement syndrome?
So the reason for my hesitation, but I will answer you, is I know some of the most prominent never Trumpers in the country. So it's a very emotionally difficult subject for me because I have been friends with some, and they're very famous individuals.
And I'm sure very deep, good people.
Well, they're deep and good in almost every other area.
Yeah.
See, if you
Good
don't
point.
like Trump, I have no issue. I don't think he's terribly likable. But who cares? Why isn't the question that people ask or should ask is individual X good or bad for America? Not do I like politician X is a narcissistic question.
Because we
I
live in
don't
the
give
cult
a
of self.
damn whether you like Trump or not. It is I don't care if you like me or not. I care if you think I am doing good for society. He had 4 years as president. Was the country better or worse because he was president? If you are at all honest, it was better.
There are many good reasons to buy gold and silver. Bank failures, digital currency volatility, emerging market countries trying to topple the dollar as the global reserve currency. Julie Hartman here for AmFed Coin and Bullion, Dennis's choice for buying precious metals. If you ask AmFed owner Nick Grovich to simplify the case for precious metals, he'll tell you that when President Roosevelt recalled the gold in circulation and paid people with paper money, they received a $20 bill for a $20 gold piece. Today, that $20 bill won't even fill half of your gas tank. But the gold piece is worth about $2,000. Which would you rather own? Now, let's simplify the reasons to use AmFed Coin and Bullion. Nick's been in this industry over 42 years, and he's proud of providing transparency and fair pricing to build trusted relationships. If you're interested in buying or selling, call Nick and his team at AmFed Coin and Bullion. 1-800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. AmericanFederal.com.
If you are at all honest, it was better. It is a dishonest answer to say it was worse. It was economically better. The world respected us
Every
more.
way it was
There was
better.
far less chaos in the world. There was no defund the police movement.
Border.
The border was at least beginning to be closed. I mean, the Israel embassy was moved. Every president promised they'd do it. They all lied in their promise.
Abraham
Republican
Accords.
as well. The Abraham Accords. I mean, the list is gigantic. The country was feared, as it should be. When I asked Neil Ferguson, one of the greatest living historians for Harvard and now at Stanford, and when I asked him on my show, I had no idea what he would say. I give you my word. Would Putin have invaded Ukraine, in your opinion, if Trump were president? There was not more than a nanosecond between my question and his answer, no. And I believe that. Why didn't he invade while Trump was president? Why didn't we have the chaos of the Middle East while he was president? When America has a weak nothing as president, the world becomes chaotic. And this is my message to conservatives as well, who go, well, it's not in America's interest, not in America's interest. Oh, really? Chaos in the world is not in America's interest? When the hell did you come up with that idea? Some of my this is another subject entirely, because isolationism is really on the rise among some really wonderful conservatives, the people I respect. But the idea, we only care about America? Since when do we only care about America? God or nature or life allowed America to be the richest and strongest country on earth so that we only care about America? Is that a moral consideration? Is that an American consideration? But anyway, we should talk about that another time, because it's a real big deal, the isolationism that is arising. But I'm obviously passionate on this because it's pure narcissism. I don't like Trump, therefore I will oppose him. I don't care if you like Trump. Why is that not relevant? It is irrelevant that you don't like Trump. Do you like America is the only valid question about a public figure.
The argument used to be, I don't like Trump, and I think character matters, and the example to the children, all that stuff.
They don't believe character matters. Biden is scum. Biden is the worst human being to be president in my lifetime, maybe in America's history.
Amen.
He is a bad human being. That's my belief. But it's irrelevant. If he were a bad human being and did good for America, I would be thrilled he was president. I am not here to judge people's lives. I am here to judge people's presidencies.
I agree. But I'm saying that used to be the argument. And it's an asinine argument, the character argument for a president of the United States. If you're picking a husband, okay, I get it. But when you're picking a president, if he cheats on his wife, I mean, come on, we have bigger considerations. I'm not saying it's not bad, but you just articulated it beautifully. My point is that used to be the argument. And since January 6th, and since all of these legal entanglements and these indictments that Trump is in, now people are saying he's a threat to democracy. Have you noticed that? People are no longer using the likability argument. They're using the
but he was a president for 4 years.
Insurrection and all that.
Well, okay.
No, trust
they
me.
said they said he was a fascist before January 6th. This is phony. Oh, it's because of January 6th. Before January 6th, they said he was a fascist and an anti-Semite and a neo-Nazi and a white supremacist. And they made up the lie that he said Nazis were fine people in Charlottesville. It's a lie.
I agree.
And we documented in a PragerU video.
I love that video, by the way. Really good one. Yes, I think you're right that it's narcissism. And I am fascinated by this idea, the idea of the modern self. Carl Trueman wrote a very good book on this. I think it's called The Modern Self. I think it's called The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self. I interviewed him on my show. And his book really influenced the way that I understand so many of our issues now. I think we acknowledged this in the last Dennis and Julie, that so many of these issues reflect a narcissism and a cult of self. Student loan forgiveness. I shouldn't have to pay back a loan that I took out. I shouldn't have to have responsibility for that. This push, trigger warnings. I shouldn't have to be made to feel offended or uncomfortable if I don't want to. Even abortion. And I'm very conflicted on the subject of abortion, but there is this idea, how dare someone else tell me that I have obligations to someone else other than myself? How dare someone tell me that I have an obligation to my unborn child, or to the man who impregnated me and is the father of this child, or to society and to greater moral principles about the divinity. If you look at every pronouns, you should have to
what about you should have to have me on your swim team.
Yes.
I'm a guy.
Yes, or bathrooms. If I want to go into the women's room, even though I have a penis, I should be allowed. It's all me. And so our conception of ourselves is it's no longer rooted in, okay, what is our obligation to other people and how do we become more like ourselves through fulfilling those obligations? Now it's just, you only have an obligation to you, and anybody else who's telling you otherwise is an antiquated bigot white supremacist. And so, yes, I think Trump derangement syndrome is like this. If I don't like him, or if I, am reviled by him, then everyone else has to march in lockstep.
I want to read to you how bad, since we got on the subject, and it is deranged, it's a syndrome.
Oh, so I know many people who have it.
Yes, here is this David Brooks, who is, as I say, not a leftist, but has it bad. In this long piece in Atlantic that I spent almost 2 hours on the plane analyzing and so on, and it has a lot of good stuff in it. But when it comes to listen to this, an ancient brand of amoralism now haunts the world. Authoritarian-style leaders like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping embody a kind of amoral realism. Trump, Xi, and Putin?
Also, what is he saying with amoral? I hate this academic jargon. One of the things I love about your writing is that it is both profound and very clear. I don't like isms. I don't like words that end in what. Tell me what the hell you mean. What does that mean? What are the last 2 words? I just said them.
Amoral realism.
I'm sorry. I don't think I'm stupid. I'm not saying I'm the brightest tool in the shed, but I don't think I'm stupid. What is amoral realism? Tell me, what is that?
That's
it's
the least of his
academic jargon BS.
Okay.
Doesn't mean anything.
He's lumping Trump.
Oh, I know. It's beyond belief, as you would say. It's beyond belief.
That is what I would say.
I know.
By the way, when you said earlier, it's me.
Yep.
How many me's do you think you said? I actually counted it.
I think I said 7 because that's the song. Me, the singing thing.
Me. No, it was
6.
Yeah.
Me. No. Me.
No, it was 5.
Me. This would be a good meme of us.
Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. I just thought it was funny.
How many did I say, Sean? Did you count?
He writes here, it's fine to elect people who lie, who are corrupt, as long as they are ruthless bastards for our side.
Wait, I'm sorry. Read that one more time.
He's speaking about people who vote for Trump. How they think, or these other horrible
Okay, so read it one more time.
It's fine to elect people who lie, who are corrupt, as long as they are ruthless bastards for our side.
Okay.
So you
But he won't say that of Joe Biden voters?
Exactly. You ask what animates it, and it's not entirely clear. It really isn't entirely clear because a lot of these people think clearly on many other issues and then all of a sudden fall off the cliff when it comes to Trump.
Oh, sorry. I just had something that popped into my head. I think that there are gradations of everything. There's gradations of goodness, gradations of evil, gradations of sin. But I think there are gradations of people who are willing to be moral fighters. And I found this when I started being public with my beliefs. I remember doing episodes, or I think this was when I was on your radio show every week. And I wanted to talk about January 6th, or I wanted to talk about the vaccines was another issue that was very contentious at the time. And, the efficacy of the vaccine and how it's been pushed on us, all of that. And I remember having this debate with myself. Should I go there? Or should I just talk about issues that are pretty, like, a lot of people can get behind, even if the left will hate me? I should talk about police. A lot of people can get behind that the defund the police movement has been crazy. Should I just talk about the border? Should I just talk about wokeness and leave kind of the more hot topics like January 6th and vaccines out of it? And I remember having this debate and I said to myself, no, Julie, you can't go 80% of the way. If you're going to be an asset for goodness and for what is right, you can't go right up to it but not cross it. And as you say, I remember I asked you, how do you decide what to say on air? Because you go there with everything. And you said to me, if it's true, I say it. And since you have said that, I have internalized that as my modus operandi for my life and specifically my professional on-air life. And so I think there are people who are good people, but they want to maintain, a certain kind of, they want to remain in the American elite. I'm sure David Brooks wants to still be invited to the fancy galas and parties and social events. And he knows that if he goes there, if he goes 100% of the way morally, then he will not reap the same personal and professional benefits than if he just goes 80% of the way and withholds. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. And ironically, part of me wishes that were true entirely. I think it's partially true. I really do believe he genuinely hates Trump.
I know. Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
He's a true believer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's the use of the term. I mean, to write these things, look, it's so here's an interesting thing. So you quoted me to you. If it's true, I say it.
Yep.
So to your credit, you said to me privately something to the effect, the whole thing is about truth. How did you put it? You put it in
I wish I remember saying it eloquently on the phone. I won't be able to replicate.
Right.
But yes, but
So here is my newest thinking on this.
Okay.
I have said for many years the most important trait for goodness to succeed in the world is courage.
Mm-hmm.
I would now say it's tied with telling the truth, and that in fact I would go one step further. They're almost synonymous.
Mm.
It takes courage to tell the truth. When I do the male-female hour, to show you how ubiquitous this concept is, I do the male-female hour. I tell the truth about men and women, especially about men.
I know you do.
Yes, and
I kind of marvel at it. I mean, you really go there.
it's gutsy.
It is gutsy.
It is almost never said, what I say on the male-female hour.
And we've talked about stuff on Dennis and Julie, and sometimes it's embarrassing, going there and
Yes.
acknowledging certain subjects.
That's
It
right.
is embarrassing, but you do it.
People are afraid of the truth.
Yep.
But, that great line in the New Testament, the truth shall set you free, that is in fact the case. The truth does set you free.
And as I say, the truth is good.
That's
because
your
the
line.
truth is created by
good.
God, and the truth is good. If you get down to the truth, you'll see that men and women are equal, races are equal. If you work hard, if you make yourself into a good person, good things will happen to you. You say you have an erotic attraction to the truth.
Yes.
I concur, because the truth is good.
Right. And when I say that, it's not just a cute line. I am excited by it. That's what I mean.
The truth is uncomfortable, but it's good.
Yeah, but I will say, generally speaking, in my life, I have found truth much more calming than disturbing, even when I don't like what I hear. Because you
Can you give an example?
Well, where it would be truth about someone I like, and it's depressing, or truth about look, the flaws of America, and I love America.
Right.
But I don't want to live in a make-believe. I don't want to live. I have one life to live. I don't want to live in a make-believe world. I don't want to live on stage where the lines are fed. The entire left is rooted in lies. It's a world of the lie.
All of
That's
it.
why they
All of
accept
it.
men give birth. Because
All of
truth is not... Here, I have a proof on that, by the way. One of many proofs. When I say something and the left attacks me, which is ubiquitous on the internet, they never refute what I say. They just call me a name. And why is that? So I'll give you an example. I wrote a column about a year ago about all the race hoaxes on campuses. A noose at a black kid's dorm room, a swastika on a black kid's door of his room, whatever.
You want a killer Black Friday deal? How about a free Moto G 5G phone from Pure Talk? No gimmicks, no trade-in necessary. Just sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 and get the Moto G 5G phone for free. But you need to move fast because these phones will be gone by the end of the month. So if your current phone is on life support, upgrade for free with Pure Talk. Enjoy 2-day battery life, a quad pixel camera, and a whole lot more. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword Dennis Prager to speak with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team. They make switching so easy and will make sure you get your new phone. Remember, Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword Dennis Prager to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with qualifying plan from Pure Talk.
All the race hoaxes on campuses. A noose at a black kid's dorm room, a swastika on a black kid's door of his room, whatever. And I gave, I think, 12, 15 examples of hoaxes. And I said, my belief is that if there is a noose or a swastika by a black kid's dorm, that it was not placed there by a white racist, but by either a white leftist or a black student, usually a black student. So I was totally attacked, and this is the attack. That's racist, which of course doesn't deal with the question, is it true? And then they say, Prager offered no, this is common. He offered no proof of his argument.
You listed all those things.
I listed at least a dozen examples. Wouldn't you think that they would say, to prove that Prager's not true, here are a dozen examples of real racists doing the noose thing.
Yes.
But they didn't give one. All they did is say, I lied and that I'm racist. Because truth is not a left-wing value. They're not aware. Wait a minute. The counter to a lie is the truth. Tell the truth. The counter of a lie is not an attack on the person. That does not counter lies.
No, they don't. Every single response that they give is if you're
ad hominem,
transphobic or
right. It's about you, not about what you said.
And one time I was having a debate with I've had many debates with many leftists, but in college, and he was saying, that's transphobic, and I said, let's play a game. Let's play a game. For the next 10 minutes, you're going to just try really hard to believe that I am acting in good faith. Even if I'm not acting, let's just set some rules here. Let's play a game. Assume I'm acting in good faith and make arguments to me for the next 10 minutes that have nothing to do with a phobia or a insidious proclivity I have to hate a certain race or certain whatever. It's impossible. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to argue based on the merits of their argument. The one time I have heard, there are some issues like immigration. I've heard people talk about like we need work, or I've heard some people make arguments on the left on some issues that don't have to do with phobias or whatever. But 90% of the time, it's about certain bigotry.
The overwhelming argument against those who have wanted not to have open borders.
Xenophobia.
Is xenophobia.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Racism and xenophobia.
Something I've thought a lot about is it has amazed me, especially in the past 3 years, really since 2020 when George Floyd died. It has amazed me how people could still remain on the left. Before 2020, because I was on the left, but I was also very young. I could get it. But things have gotten so bad and so obviously ridiculous and evil and irrational, not just with the police, but the border and all of this wokeism and the list goes on. I look at that and I can't understand how there are still some people on the left. Do you ever have that thought? Like, after all that has happened?
Well, it was never rooted in truth. By the way, the George Floyd thing, I've never said he was murdered.
I know.
Because
you haven't.
I care about truth. I do not believe that Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd.
Well, you noticed I just said George Floyd's death.
I know. I'm just making it even clearer to those
Right.
listening. Not
See, that's
because
a
I
great
want.
example of going all the way with the truth.
That's right.
And that's hard. It's really
Oh, yeah,
uncomfortable.
that is a good example.
It's
yes,
really
that's right. Truth and courage are identical. That's correct. And this is a good example. To say George Floyd was not murdered opens you up to massive
God.
amounts of hate, as if you're okay with killing blacks, which is sick. There's not a cell in me that is okay with killing blacks. But the evidence, I mean, the whole story about what are they called, the ones who do the autopsies?
Morticians?
Yeah, was it not
Yeah,
a mortician.
what is the name of it?
Anyway, so God, I can't believe it. You can't remember it, and I can't remember it. No, it's the one who does autopsies.
Autopsitarian.
Yes. No, not mortician. All right, doesn't matter. Maybe it is mortician. Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. Don't keep guessing. So it's the guy who did the autopsy, the doctor, said he was not killed, and then changed it because he knew he would lose his profession and maybe his life. Yeah. And so people don't know that his first report was he wasn't killed.
And it's amazing too how people will take one thing you say and then literally like metastasize it to paint this picture of so many layers of bigotry. Like, for instance, when they say, "Oh, Dennis Prager says that George Floyd wasn't murdered," that means that he's racist. That means he's okay with killing blacks. That means that he is, doesn't think what Derek Chauvin did was wrong. They don't see
That's
any
right.
nuance with anything.
No, because truth is not a left-wing value.
We can both say that the evidence indicates that George Floyd was not murdered by Derek Chauvin.
By the way, the word is coroner.
Coroner, that's the word. But is the coroner the one that performs the autopsy?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
Or the one who extrapolates from the autopsy what happened.
Two things can be true at once. A, that the evidence does not indicate that George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, but also that Derek Chauvin should not put his knee on the neck of George Floyd.
One could say that. By the way,
that was a training.
Right.
That was a procedure that they did, but
right.
But they don't see any nuance on the left.
It does not lead to death.
Right.
That is why it was a police tactic.
But they think because you say that, then you're somehow endorsing Chauvin.
Right.
You're endorsing
right.
it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's
right.
And it's like
Media Matters for America, which a lot of the left-wing places use, is a lying institution. All they do is lie. Yeah, I know, because I am the object of a fair number of their. They cite you in a lying way, or they wrench out of context. Prager said he wants to use the N-word.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, as a perfect example. All I said was saying N-word, whereas you could say every other horrible word like kike for Jew, is crazy. And I even said calling a black person N-word is despicable. And I said it. They didn't quote that part.
I know, hence why I often marvel at how so many people can be on the left. Now, let me clarify. I can understand how some people are not, super right-wing or not Republicans or not conservatives. I get that. I just don't understand how after all that has happened, seeing how rancid and despicable and just
well,
awful.
You could say that about any evil ideology.
How are there so many people still?
God is disappointed in his creation.
Yes, he saw and
Oh, are you ready? It's a great thing to end on. I want to read to you something. I'm going to do this on the air. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of Benjamin Franklin. You know.
You should read Stacy Schiff's biography of him. I had her
on
my show.
Okay, good. I will.
She's really,
okay,
really
thank you. So listen to this. Benjamin Franklin to Joseph Priestley, June 7th, 1782. The more I know of men, the more I am disgusted with them. I love this. Men I find to be a sort of beings very badly constructed, as they are generally more easily provoked than reconciled, more disposed to do mischief to each other than to make reparation, much more easily deceived than undeceived, and having more pride and even pleasure in killing than in begetting one another. For without a blush they assemble in great armies at noonday to destroy, and when they have killed as many as they can, they exaggerate the number to augment the fancied glory.
It's really depressing.
And then it totally.
It's really depressing.
You ready for the final line
Yes.
of this? A virtuous action it would be, and a vicious one, the killing of them, if the species were really worth producing or preserving. But of this I begin to doubt. To me, wisdom begins, the famous phrase in the Bible, with the fear of God, and that's true. Wisdom begins with the acknowledgement that human nature is not basically good. You cannot have wisdom if you believe people are basically good. You are automatically a fool, and every doctrine you will develop from that will be foolish.
So you can tell that someone is rich by the clothes they wear, the cars they drive, the jewelries they have. You can tell someone is privileged by the beliefs that they hold. If you think that someone is basically good, you are one...
Human race is basically good. There are a handful of people, I think.
Did I say someone?
Yeah.
I phrased it as individual. If you think that the human race is basically good, you have lived a cushy,
that's right,
padded, privileged, to use the favorite word of the left, the P word, privilege. If you think that the human race is basically good, you are the most privileged person in the world. But in all likelihood.
Yeah. So that's my man, Benjamin Franklin. Another person I greatly admire, my wife. She thinks God should not have spared Noah.
I have to say, I was going to bring it up, but I didn't know if you or Sue would have been comfortable. I have thought about that. When I first heard that, I thought, oh, no. But seeing how much evil there is in the world, she may have a point.
She has a point. I don't agree with her, but yes.
I'm not so sure that I agree with her,
because she has a point.
Well,
look,
it's like,
that's what Benjamin Franklin said. That was his last line. If the species were really worth producing or preserving, but of this I begin to doubt. I'd like to have met Benjamin Franklin.
Get in line.
So what's the name of the book? Did you read it, or did you just have her on?
No, I read her recent biography of Sam Adams, which was spectacular. I have not read her one on Benjamin, but I believe it was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. She's won the Pulitzer Prize for others.
That's a bad sign for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're dummies at the Pulitzer.
Well, she's a really, really good writer.
They gave the New York Times and Washington Post Pulitzer Prizes for their lying about...
Oh, you're right.
No. Their record is despicable.
Well, she won the Pulitzer Prize for her book on Cleopatra, I think, in 1999, so it was hopefully better then.
No, I won't say that... Look, McCullough got a Pulitzer Prize for his biography of Truman, and it was great. It doesn't. All I'm saying is it doesn't recommend it. It doesn't non-recommend it, and it doesn't recommend it. I don't have. I have as much respect for the Pulitzer Prize as I do for the Nobel Prize.
By the way, just
in peace, the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes. As a quick aside, so Sam Adams and Benjamin Franklin were similar in a lot of ways, but their lives up until the Revolution were quite different. Samuel Adams had a very unimpressive life for his first 40 years. He was kind of a nothing burger. He didn't really have a career. And then he became, Thomas Jefferson called him the leader of the American Revolution, that it wouldn't have occurred without Samuel Adams. Benjamin Franklin, on the other hand, was so impressive from the get-go. He was a polymath. I mean, and I look at someone like Benjamin Franklin, modern society could never produce someone like that. With all, I mean, didn't he invent certain spectacles?
Yeah, no, he was amazing.
He had all, talk about diversity of capability.
Did he discover or prove electricity?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not like small. These are huge, huge things this one man did.
That's right.
If you want to feel bad about yourself, read about Benjamin Franklin. If you want to feel good about yourself, read about Samuel Adams.
Well, it's a very funny way of putting it. However, I love reading about people who are better than me.
Oh, me too. It's inspiring.
It's exactly.
How can people reach us?
By having you tell them.
Really?
Yes. You
don't want to give it a go?
That's correct.
It's been weeks.
That's part of the problem.
Okay. You can reach me at julie@julie-hartman.com. I love hearing from you. And if I don't respond, please forward it to me because I want to try to respond to as many of you as I can. And you can follow me, at least for now, on Instagram and Twitter at Julie R. Hartman. And you can follow Dennis on Twitter at Dennis Prager and on Instagram at the Dennis Prager. We will see you here soon. I think this was episode 89. Isn't that amazing?
Is that true?
We should bring in champagne when it's 100.
Correct.
And maybe you'll even drink it.
I will.
I don't even like champagne, actually.
No, actually, if I have to drink something, I like champagne. Oh. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Shalom.